Mitsubishi has just shaken up the pickup truck market in a way nobody expected. While brands like Ford and Toyota continue battling over massive $60,000 trucks, Mitsubishi quietly introduced a brand new heavy-duty pickup starting at only $14,999. That's right, a brand new heavy-duty truck in 2026 for under 15 grand. But the price isn't even the most surprising part. This truck is reportedly delivering highway fuel economy numbers that sound almost impossible for a heavy-duty pickup. Drivers are seeing more than 30 miles per gallon on the highway, which is incredibly impressive for something designed to tow and haul serious loads. So how did Mitsubishi manage to pull this off without using a hybrid system or downsizing to a tiny 3-cylinder engine? The secret comes down to smart engineering. The truck uses a lightweight chassis, an efficient turbo diesel 4-cylinder engine, and gearing specifically tuned to cruise comfortably at highway speeds without stressing the engine. And this isn't some stripped-down work truck that feels cheap. It comes with a proper ladder frame chassis, a Class 3 towing package, and an interior that's comfortable enough for daily driving without feeling rough or outdated. What really surprises people is how relaxed the truck feels on the highway. Instead of noisy engines and constant gear hunting, the Mitsubishi settles into a smooth and quiet rhythm that makes long drives easy. Even though it's affordable, it still works like a real heavy-duty truck. You can load the bed with gravel, tow small equipment, and keep driving without constantly worrying about fuel stops. Aerodynamics also play a big role in its efficiency. While many modern trucks are designed to look huge and aggressive, Mitsubishi kept things practical. The front end is clean, the mirrors are slim, and the ride height is low enough to reduce wind resistance while still maintaining good ground clearance. Add in low rolling resistance tires that still look rugged and you get fuel efficiency nobody expected from a work truck under $15,000. Don't mistake efficiency for weakness, though. The turbo diesel engine delivers strong torque at only 1,800 revolutions per minute, so the truck pulls confidently without constantly downshifting on hills or under load. During recent highway testing, drivers reportedly managed over 600 miles on a single tank of fuel. For a heavy-duty pickup, that's almost unheard of. Compare that to many V8 gas trucks that may struggle to reach 300 miles before needing fuel, and suddenly, Mitsubishi's budget truck starts looking like one of the smartest purchases of 2026. What's even better is that Mitsubishi didn't sacrifice durability to achieve those numbers. The suspension is simple and tough, the brakes are oversized for the truck's weight, and the cooling system borrows components from Mitsubishi's global commercial vehicle lineup. That means fewer fragile, eco-focused parts and more reliability when the truck is actually put to work. So what's the downside? Honestly, there isn't some huge hidden catch. Mitsubishi simply cut costs in the right places. There are no oversized 20-inch wheels, no fake luxury trim, no giant decorative grille, and no massive touchscreen that costs a fortune to replace. Instead, you get practical features like physical controls, durable vinyl flooring, and seats designed to handle muddy workdays without worry. That's how Mitsubishi managed to keep the price at $14,999 while still making the truck feel solid and usable. The simpler design also means fewer electronics draining power from the system, reducing strain on the alternator and helping improve fuel efficiency even further. On long highway trips, that fuel economy almost feels like a superpower. While other truck owners are stopping constantly for gas, this Mitsubishi just keeps going. You're spending less on fuel, enjoying the elevated driving position, and avoiding the pain of frequent fill-ups. Fleet managers are already paying attention because this truck could cut fuel costs by nearly 40% compared to traditional gas-powered heavy-duty pickups. For contractors, landscapers, and small farm owners, those savings could make a huge difference over the course of a year. And unlike many budget trucks, This one actually feels stable and comfortable at highway speeds. The steering feels confident without being heavy, and the cabin stays surprisingly quiet thanks to clever sound insulation around the firewall and wheel wells. It may not feel like a luxury SUV, but it also doesn't feel like an old-school, noisy work truck. Instead, it strikes a balance between affordability, capability, comfort, and efficiency, something the pickup market hasn't really seen in a long time. The suspension handles highway expansion joints and bridge transitions surprisingly well. Instead of harsh impacts or constant bouncing, the truck absorbs rough patches with a controlled, solid feel. Even on long highway curves, the seats keep you comfortable and supported instead of sliding you around. Now here's where things get really impressive for people who actually rely on a truck for real work. Despite delivering excellent highway fuel economy, this Mitsubishi still offers a payload capacity of around 2,000 pounds and can tow up to 7,500 pounds when properly equipped. Sure, it's not meant for hauling massive gooseneck trailers loaded with hay, but it can easily handle a skid steer, a car trailer, or a full bed of wet firewood without feeling strained. And because the engine isn't constantly pushed to its limits, you're not sacrificing long-term durability just to save fuel. Mitsubishi designed this truck with a tough, old-school mindset. It uses a timing chain instead of a belt, cast iron cylinder sleeves for extra durability, and a transmission cooler built strong enough to handle far more than the truck's official rating. Out on the highway, that engineering pays off. Even when fully loaded and climbing long grades, oil temperatures stay comfortably under control. The transmission deserves credit, too. Instead of endlessly searching for gears like many modern 8- and 9-speed automatics, Mitsubishi kept things simple with a refined 6-speed automatic that locks into gear early and stays there. That means less wasted energy through the torque converter and more efficient use of every drop of diesel fuel. At 70 miles per hour, the engine sits just above 2,000 revolutions per minute, right in the sweet spot where the turbo is working efficiently without forcing the engine to burn excessive fuel. That's a big reason why this truck can achieve over 30 miles per gallon on the highway, numbers that make some hybrid crossovers look inefficient. You might assume that a small turbo diesel would struggle in mountainous areas or steep highway passes, but surprisingly, it doesn't. Mitsubishi equipped the engine with a variable geometry turbocharger that maintains consistent boost pressure even at high elevations, where thinner air usually robs engines of power. During real-world mountain testing, drivers reported that the truck comfortably held 6th gear on climbs, where many V8 gas trucks were constantly downshifting and revving hard. The diesel simply builds boost, leans into its torque, and climbs steadily like a much larger engine. No, it's not built for drag racing, but it also doesn't feel weak or overwhelmed. Even under load, fuel economy remains surprisingly stable, so your driving range doesn't suddenly collapse the moment the road starts climbing uphill. Now let's talk about something buyers are really worried about: dealer markups. Mitsubishi seems fully aware that they have something special here, and early reports suggest the company is trying hard to keep this truck affordable. Instead of allowing dealerships to add outrageous markups, Mitsubishi has reportedly been strict about enforcing MSRP pricing for this model. Their goal appears to be simple: make this truck a practical, affordable workhorse for everyday buyers, not a collector item or speculative flip vehicle. That means if you can actually find one available, which is still difficult right now, buyers may realistically walk out the door paying around $15,000 plus taxes and fees. Considering that the average price of a new pickup truck recently passed $48,000, it's easy to understand why people are traveling long distances just to reserve one. The aftermarket industry is already jumping on board as well. Only weeks after launch, companies started developing leveling kits, steel bumpers, winch mounts, and bed racks specifically for this Mitsubishi truck. Because the truck's design is simple and shares engineering with Mitsubishi's global commercial vehicles, modifying it is relatively easy. There's already a huge supply of proven parts and accessories that can be adapted to fit. Want to transform this affordable work truck into an overlanding build with fuel economy close to a hybrid? You can. Need a reliable farm truck that saves fuel while hauling supplies and checking fences? No problem. The platform is incredibly versatile, and small business owners are already placing large fleet orders. It's not just because the truck is cheap, although that definitely helps, but because the long-term ownership costs are dramatically lower than the competition. Lower fuel expenses, easier maintenance, reduced downtime, and a low purchase price leave owners with extra budget for practical upgrades like toolboxes, racks, and work lighting. And there's another advantage many people haven't thought about yet. Because the engine runs so efficiently and the cooling system is heavily overbuilt, this truck handles extreme heat with very little stress. While many pickups start losing power and struggling in extreme heat, the Mitsubishi keeps going without breaking a sweat. Even when temperatures climb past 110 degrees, the engine stays cool. The air conditioning blows ice cold, and performance remains consistent. That's a huge advantage for people working in places where summer feels more like a survival challenge than a season. Areas like the Southwest, the Deep South, or any region with brutal heat. Mitsubishi even designed the AC system to cool the cabin aggressively without putting a heavy load on the engine, which helps maintain fuel efficiency during long drives through hot desert highways. Of course, no truck is perfect, especially at this price point, and Mitsubishi definitely had to make a few compromises to keep the cost around $14,999 while still delivering impressive miles per gallon numbers. For starters, the bed measures 6.5 feet instead of a full 8 feet, so large sheets of plywood will stick out unless you add a simple rack setup. The paint is also fairly thin and basic, meaning scratches from branches or worksite abuse will show up quickly. And the sound system? Let's just say it feels like it was designed by someone who thinks diesel engine noise is all the entertainment you need. But honestly, none of those things matter much to the people this truck is built for. This isn't trying to be a luxury pickup or a flashy lifestyle vehicle. It's a practical, affordable, and surprisingly capable heavy-duty truck that delivers excellent fuel economy while doing real work. It handles the highway confidently, gets shockingly good MPG, and costs so little that the price almost feels like a mistake. For buyers who've avoided purchasing a new truck because they couldn't justify spending $50,000 just to tow moderate loads and average 14 miles per gallon, this Mitsubishi suddenly makes a lot of sense. The big question now is how long Mitsubishi can continue selling a truck like this at such a low price before competitors either copy the formula or try to push them out of the market. And you can already imagine the pressure building inside companies like Ford, Chevy, and Ram. Over the years, entry-level work trucks from major brands have become more expensive while often delivering worse fuel economy and fewer standard features. Now Mitsubishi has entered the market with a truck that undercuts many competitors by nearly $20,000 while delivering highway MPG numbers better than some older hybrid cars. That's more than just competition. It's a serious disruption to the entire truck industry. Don't be surprised if the major manufacturers suddenly start announcing affordable value trims and miracle fuel economy improvements within the next few months. But there's one thing they can't duplicate overnight: Mitsubishi's global development experience. This truck wasn't designed only for American roads. It was tested for years in harsh environments around the world: rough dirt tracks in Australia, flooded roads in Southeast Asia, and steep mountain passes in South America. That worldwide testing means the truck's components have already proven they can handle extreme punishment that would destroy many budget vehicles. The fuel efficiency isn't some fragile lab result designed for marketing. It's the natural result of an engine and chassis engineered to work hard without wasting energy. And because Mitsubishi isn't trying to sell buyers a luxury image, they skipped unnecessary extras like ambient lighting, oversized touchscreens, and complicated drive modes most people never use. Instead, the company focused its money on the important parts: the engine, transmission, cooling system, brakes, and frame. That's why this truck can spend hours on the highway, head straight to a demanding job site, haul heavy loads, and still drive home feeling tight and solid. The steering stays responsive, the brakes remain confident, and the engine never feels stressed doing real work. There's also something many reviewers haven't talked about yet: resale value. Normally, affordable work trucks lose value quickly, but early signs suggest this Mitsubishi could become an exception. Because operating costs are so low and demand is already exceeding supply, some used models are reportedly selling for close to, or even above, their original sticker price. That's extremely rare for a budget work truck. And Mitsubishi may not be stopping here. The company has already hinted at a longer bed version and a crew cab model arriving next year. If the current truck is already impressive, imagine a four-door version capable of carrying an entire work crew while still delivering over 30 miles per gallon on the highway. The platform can handle it, the diesel engine has enough torque, and demand for that setup is already huge. Fleet managers are reportedly asking Mitsubishi directly for those configurations, and considering how aggressively the company has moved so far, an official announcement could arrive sooner than expected. The current two-door model with the 6.5-foot bed is already starting to feel like a future legend. You can drive across several states on a single tank of diesel, park it almost anywhere without stressing over scratches or dents because it costs less than many used compact cars and still outwork trucks that are 3 times more expensive. What really makes this truck special is how effortless the highway experience feels. Long drives become relaxing instead of exhausting. The engine stays quiet, the fuel gauge barely moves, and you stop thinking about fuel costs altogether. That's the real magic here. Mitsubishi managed to turn one of the most annoying parts of truck ownership, constant fuel stops and endless highway noise, into something you hardly notice anymore. You just keep driving. The engine stays calm, the RPM stays low, and your wallet doesn't suffer every few hundred miles. Whether you're a contractor trying to keep job costs down, a farmer carefully managing expenses, or simply someone who needs a real truck without spending the price of a house down payment, this Mitsubishi feels like the answer nobody saw coming. At this point, the question isn't really whether you should buy one. The real question is whether you'll be able to find one before demand wipes out inventory. Because let's be honest, any truck can look impressive cruising on smooth highways. Real work happens somewhere else entirely. It happens on muddy job sites, rough gravel roads, washed-out farm trails, and uneven back roads that haven't been maintained in decades. And this little $14,000 truck handles that environment shockingly well. The suspension travel is much better than you'd expect from an affordable pickup. When you hit deep potholes or rough terrain, the suspension absorbs the impact smoothly instead of crashing into the bump stops like many cheap trucks do. Mitsubishi actually borrowed suspension technology from its global off-road racing programs, then simplified and strengthened it for durability in everyday work conditions. The result is a truck that feels surprisingly comfortable even after spending an entire day driving on terrible roads. The tires deserve credit, too. The factory all-terrain tires strike a smart balance between road comfort and off-road grip. On the highway, they stay quiet enough to preserve the truck's impressive fuel economy. But once the pavement ends, they still dig into mud, gravel, and loose terrain far better than you'd expect. Even better, Mitsubishi chose a common tire size that's inexpensive to replace. New tires cost a fraction of what owners of larger modern trucks often pay for oversized wheel packages. The truck's off-road design also shows real practical thinking. Many budget trucks hang low plastic spoilers and vulnerable parts underneath the front bumper. Mitsubishi did the opposite. The front bumper sits higher, the intercooler is protected, and there's a real steel skid plate mounted directly to the frame instead of fragile plastic clips. That means you can cross rough terrain, scrape the underside, and keep driving without destroying expensive components underneath the truck. The rear departure angle is surprisingly good too. Even though the spare tire is mounted underneath the bed, it's tucked high enough to avoid dragging over obstacles or steep driveways. The truck's lighter weight becomes another huge advantage once conditions get rough. Unlike many modern full-size trucks that weigh well over 4,500 pounds, this Mitsubishi stays relatively light. Instead of sinking into soft mud or tearing up wet ground, it tends to float across terrain more easily. You can drive through muddy job sites, wet fields, or rough trails with far less risk of getting buried. And when you eventually do get stuck, because every truck owner gets stuck eventually, recovery is much simpler. You don't need massive recovery equipment or an oversized tow rig. Usually, another light truck or a properly positioned ATV can pull it free without much drama. The four-wheel drive system is another example of Mitsubishi keeping things simple in the best possible way. There are no complicated electronic systems, delayed response drive modes, or expensive torque vectoring components waiting to fail years later. Instead, you get a traditional mechanical transfer case lever that shifts into 4 high and 4 low with a solid, satisfying engagement. It's simple, durable, and easy to trust. The front differential is also a straightforward open differential design. Sure, it won't dominate extreme rock-crawling trails, but it also avoids the complexity, maintenance costs, and reliability concerns that come with more advanced systems. And for the people buying this truck to actually work, that simplicity is exactly the point. For the kind of work this truck was truly designed to handle, carrying heavy loads down rough roads without unnecessary drama, the standard open differential works perfectly fine. And for drivers who want extra traction, the aftermarket has already stepped in with affordable locking differentials that can be installed by almost any experienced DIY mechanic over a weekend. But what about people who deal with real winter weather? The kind of drivers facing heavy snow, icy highways, and freezing conditions that can turn an ordinary commute into a stressful experience. This Mitsubishi actually has an advantage that even some expensive trucks fail to get right: weight distribution. Because the diesel engine is compact and mounted farther back over the front axle, the truck achieves a nearly balanced 50-50 weight split when the bed is empty. Even though the diesel engine is smaller, it's still heavier than a comparable gas engine, which helps stabilize the truck in slippery conditions. That balanced setup makes a noticeable difference on icy roads. Instead of the rear tires instantly losing grip the moment you touch the throttle, the truck stays more predictable and controlled. Add a few sandbags over the rear axle, something this truck can easily carry without affecting performance, and suddenly you've got a surprisingly capable winter machine that can confidently drive past stuck SUVs and spinning four-wheel drives while still delivering excellent fuel economy. The heating system deserves praise, too. One common complaint with diesel vehicles is how long they take to warm up during cold weather. Mitsubishi solved that issue by adding an auxiliary electric heating element that starts working almost immediately after the engine fires up. That means warm air begins flowing into the cabin before you've even left the driveway. By the time you reach highway speeds, the engine's normal coolant heat has fully taken over, keeping the cabin warm and comfortable while fuel efficiency remains impressive. And once you start paying attention, you notice thoughtful engineering details all over this truck. The door handles are large enough to grab while wearing work gloves. The mirrors fold manually and use flexible materials designed to bend instead of snapping if they hit branches or obstacles. The tailgate is lightweight enough to open easily, but still strong enough to stand on while working. Inside the bed, Mitsubishi included real tie-down points at all four corners instead of the weak stamped pockets many cheaper trucks use. Even the trailer hitch shows how serious this truck is about durability. The receiver is welded directly to the frame using heavy reinforcement plates that look more like something from a commercial-duty truck than a budget pickup. You could tow a loaded car trailer down rough washboard roads for miles, and that hitch would handle it without flexing, cracking, or complaining. And that's really the point of this truck. While other manufacturers focus on luxury pickups loaded with giant screens, premium sound systems, massaging seats, and complicated tailgates that turn into picnic tables, Mitsubishi focused on building something working people actually need. It's affordable to buy, inexpensive to maintain, surprisingly fuel-efficient on the highway, and genuinely tough once the pavement ends. The biggest challenge right now isn't deciding whether the truck is good, it's finding one available. Dealers are already reporting that nearly every truck arriving at their lots is sold before it even leaves the port. Some buyers are placing deposits on units that haven't even been built yet just to secure a spot in line. And Mitsubishi, staying true to its conservative approach, doesn't appear interested in rushing production at the expense of quality. So if you want one of these surprisingly affordable heavy-duty trucks with impressive fuel economy, waiting too long might not be an option. Subscribe to this channel and get more information.